this is a collage of photos that actually were from the Historical Society collection of various things that happened during the time that Harvey Milk was alive.
Wow.
So if you get really close to it, you can see all these people and locations and things around San Francisco. And it's been put together in this amazing collage.
That's awesome.
It's really cool.
Thank you.
Just following.
You were talking about the four sections it's divided up into. So this is the places section, and it goes through some of the things like Mona's 440 Club, which was a gay nightclub back in the 40s. We have Finocchio's, which actually was world famous in its day as being a drag queen club, but it was very high end. It was down in North Beach. It was in the area where all the main entertainment, all the strip clubs and things were, but Finocchio's was attended by politicians and celebrities. It was the place to be seen back during its day. It closed, I'm not sure, not that long ago, because I was actually at a show at Finocchio, so probably in the 90s, the late 80s or the 90s is when that closed. In the Mission District, there is a women's building, and this is an example, or this is a artist rendering of a mural that is painted on the side of that building. The women have always been a force to be reckoned with in San Francisco. It's not just a place for gay men, it's a place for gay women, and they have been, as many people know, they've been our allies during the AIDS crisis, and they are also firmly entrenched here at the Historical Society. One of my favorite little gems in the collection that we have displayed here is this shoe. In 1991, Governor George Duke Majan of California vetoed the first domestic partner legislation. And the police, anticipating trouble in the Castro, decided to be preemptive, and they'd already masked Frank Jordan, whose shoe this is, was police chief at the time. And although I was living in San Francisco at the time, I may not have this story 100% right, but this is pretty close. The police were coming down Castro Street, and the guys in what used to be called the Elephant Walk, kitty corner from where we're standing now, got the word that they were coming down the street, and they came pouring out of the Elephant Walk. They called out to everybody else who was in the bars, and they chased the police up the street and chased them out of the Castro. And in the process, Frank Jordan lost his shoe. Somebody had the sense to pick it up and give it to the Historical Society. So this is the kind of grandmother's attic stuff that we've got at the Historical Society.
That's awesome.
This mural on the back wall is called the Parade of Tyrants. We actually have this in a postcard. But this was the one of the gay parades. And we have Idi Amin, the KKK, the infamous Anita Bryant, we got Hitler and Mussolini all on these placards.
Right there with Anita.
Awesome.
This, well, let's go over here first. One of the things that very few people know is that the first person that we know of to be openly gay, to actually run for elected office in the United States, was Jose Sarria, who later became one of the emperors in the imperial courts of San Francisco. But he ran for office in 1961. He didn't get elected, but he got a significant amount of votes. So he was paving the way for later people like Harvey Milk. And speaking of Harvey, this is the suit that I referred to earlier. So this was the actual suit that Harvey was wearing the day he died. You may also recall in the movie that Scott Smith, his partner, was not his partner of the moment when he died. However, Scott did inherit everything that was in the apartment. It took an odyssey when Scott left San Francisco. The items were shipped to his parents' house, and they stayed in their garage. I don't remember where that was, but it was like Idaho or Montana or something like that. And then when Scott died of AIDS, the collection needed to go someplace, and someone thought about the Historical Society. So we actually wound up with an amazing amount of Harvey's stuff. We had everything that was packed up in his apartment after he died. All of his records and papers and books and everything that was there is at the Historical Society. The only thing that is not is many of his papers that apply to his time in politics are at the public library in the Hormel collection there. But all of his stuff that wasn't actually papers is with us. Another thing I'd like to point out, something that's become more, has been understood a little bit more during the past couple of years, is the fact that the Stonewall Rebellion in 1968 was not the first time that an organized group of gay people stood up and said, we've had enough and we're not taking this police harassment anymore. It actually started out in 1966 at a place called Compton's Cafeteria. The former executive director of our Historical Society has actually created a documentary which has been picked up by public television and is often broadcast during Gay Pride Month in June around the country. And the actual documentary is called, excuse me, The Riots at Compton's Cafeteria. In this case, there was a very marginalized group of transsexuals, transvestites, drag queens that were living in residential hotels down in the Tenderloin of San Francisco, and most of them were sex workers. And the one place that they would hang out was Compton's Cafeteria, which is a 24-hour cafeteria in that area, and they were always being harassed. It was 66, so there were the constant raids and the paddy wagons and things coming. And the police came down to raid Compton's Cafeteria one night, and the denizens of the area said, no, it's just, we're not standing for it. And there were riots, and they chased the police, and they beat the police with their high heels, and they, stood up for their rights. I've chatted with some people who were involved both here and in New York in '68, and they've said that they think that it just didn't make the news because we weren't a hub of news like New York is a hub of news. It was just a much more quiet event here in San Francisco. But it did predate Stonewall, and it was the same group of people, the same disenfranchised group of people that made this happen. This is a picture of Life magazine from 1964. It has to do with a bar here in San Francisco, which is no longer here. It was called the Toolbox. And they were famous for this mural that was painted on the back of the bar. And this particular article and the whole concept of bringing gay rights to the forefront in the early 60s was they wanted to let people know that the gay community itself was much more diverse than effeminate men. And so the Toolbox was a leather bar, and one of the earlier leather bars in San Francisco. And this expose caused all sorts of uproar in the United States at the time.